Hello, welcome to what is our first watch-orientated podcast, and I'm joined by Aubrey Dawson, and I am Edward Langmead, the jewellery and watch specialist here. And today we're going to discuss basically our standout lots for this sale coming up on the 22nd of September, which is next Thursday. It starts at 9:30, and the watches appear just after lunch, around 12:31ish, but don't quote me on that. So let's get started with, I guess, randomly. We've got Rolexes, we've got Pateks, we've got Omegas, we've got Hoyas, another Patek, and of course an Audemars Piguet. But what do you think we should probably
why don't we start with this nice Audemars Piguet?
Right.
Nice
So
in the sale.
yes, Audemars Piguet, Royal Oak. I mean, you can't get more iconic than that. Designed in 1970 by Gerald Genta, who also designed the Nautilus. Amongst hundreds of watches actually, but possibly his most accredited watch, and one of only a couple on sale in the country. It's the steel 39mm with the white dial, automatic movement, full set here. Now, a really lovely story. The chap, the vendor it's come from, won it directly from AP. For winning Salon Privé concourse with a Aston Martin DB7 Zagato in 2008, I believe.
Amazing! What a great story.
Yes.
And I have to say, looking at this, I mean, the condition is superb.
It's excellent.
We've got the full box papers and everything with it. I mean, it looks almost unworn.
Yeah, it is basically. There's a few gentle marks, but apart from that, I mean,
a few little marks and scratches on the bracelet, but in general, if you show it to that camera there. It looks like it's in beautiful condition.
It is, and it's as I said,
nice visible case back as well.
Can you see that? There we go. It's just gorgeous, iconic watch. So Gerald Genta, I believe. Now, quote me if I'm wrong. The diver's helmet was the inspiration for that, and of course, the first time these reverse screws were used into the case, and I've seen some horrible case backs where people have actually tried to unscrew it from the back, and when in fact you need the special tool from the front.
It's an iconic design. It's stood the test of time, you know. I mean, when was it designed? In the 70s, so 50 years later.
Exactly.
Still going strong.
So the care and consideration that went into the bracelet, this was what was different, because this came out, this was 10 times more than a Submariner at the time, and everyone was like, well, it's never going to sell. But then people started realizing that as soon as you pick up the watch, the quality of the bracelet, whereas in, say, a Rolex, it was just a different.
Far more intricate, more pieces in there, and obviously we're going to come on to this, this rather special one later on. But certainly, if you're comparing bracelets, just an oyster bracelet, that's far more intricate, far more complex.
Exactly, it was basically the first luxury sports watch, and it changed the market, it changed the quality of watchmaking forever, basically.
And what's the estimate on this one?
So this is in at £28,000 to £32,000, which sounds like a lot, but if they're if you do look online, they're going for well over 40 if you can find them. Now, I don't think there's many on the open market at all, so it is really a fantastic find and a fantastic buy. So
good luck. The thing, if you go to AP and try and buy one of these,
you
just can't. They're going to say, well, you've got to wait 5 or 10 years.
Well, yeah, exactly, and I do know people who are waiting. So really lovely, and it's got all the swing tags and everything like that, which is quite rare as well. So really lovely story, really lovely watch, and fantastic to have in the sale.
So if that watch was perhaps a little bit too understated for you, maybe you might go for one of these.
Yes, if you wanted to stand out from the crowd. We also have a very sort of similar. It's not a similar design, but it's definitely sort of that octagonal kind of style watch. It's by Hublot, and we've got two actually. We've got the 41mm and the 44 Big Bang automatic movements, diamond set bezels, all on 18-karat rose gold, which is fantastic. Brown dial, white dial chronographs, and just really stand out from the crowd watches. And bulletproof movement. And
are these factory set?
Yeah, these are exactly. Yes, so they're factory set bezels, double row of diamonds, round brilliant cut diamonds, and all on injected rubber straps, which are really, really tough and durable. So it's a crossover, really.
Because so often we see they're sort of iced out after the event, but it's the factory set that people are after, isn't it?
Well, exactly. It commands more money, and both of these are in at to £10,000, which again is they probably retail at over 30.
It's a lot of watch for the money.
It's a lot of watch for the money, exactly. I think about 32, something like that. But yeah, interesting watches for a good night out. Not everyone's cup of tea, but I like them.
Not sure they'd suit you, to be honest.
Well, funny thing is, the longer you stare at them, the more you go. Actually, could I wear that?
Could I put it off? Yeah.
Could I put that off?
I've got faith in you, Edward.
So next,
what next? What shall we talk about next?
What do you think?
What about nice little
it's
Patek
beautiful,
Phillipe here.
really underrated watch.
With this box as well.
And swing tags.
And just an absolute classic.
It is. So
pure white dial.
Exactly. This is the travel time. Now, what's unique about this is obviously you've got hand-wound movement, see-through case back, exhibition case back, but you've got split hour hands. So that obviously for a traveller, I don't know if you can see that. You can set your hour hand forwards and backwards by these pushers on the side of the case. For wherever you've landed, you can keep track of time back home or what have you. But all in rose gold, 18 carat. Just a really, really lovely dress watch. This is in for 12 to 15,000. It's a Patek Phillipe 513 4R. Obviously, the R being the rose gold. Absolutely stunning.
Brilliant. We've got the box with it as well.
Got
so
the box.
Outer box and inner box.
Yep. Which is fantastic. No papers though on this one, but from a really good vendor. And yes, it's just gorgeous. I do like that. And retail, I'm not 100%, but it's definitely more than double that estimate, that's for sure.
Is it worth just us touching very briefly on buying watches without paperwork? Because it's amazing the number of watches we do see without paperwork.
Well,
and then tell me about the checks that we carry out on these as well.
Of course, yes. So, I mean, back in the 80s, when a lot of these vintage watches are coming from 70s and 80s, obviously, it just wasn't normal to keep the paperwork. And you move house once or twice, and then, the box goes, and it's normal. So there are things that we do. We work closely with the Art Loss Register. They check all of our watches, all the serial numbers against their database, which is fantastic. Gives us that reassurance, and also gives the buyer reassurance when purchasing, especially abroad as well. So you know that all the checks this end have been carried out. We check inside and out of all watches, and if we have any doubts, we also independently verify them as well. So we can, be pretty confident that everything coming through here has been checked. That's not always I would say working condition, but we do check for that. But it is advisable to get your watches serviced immediately after purchase, because you just can't tell the life of the internals of a watch. And what it's been through, but we do our best to verify at this end.
Yeah, and sometimes people's memory is hazy. They'll often say to me, "Oh, I had the watch serviced a couple of years ago." Well, actually, that 2 years was 5 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago. So I always recommend having your watch serviced once you bought it,
For sure.
and then you've got the next 5 years peace of mind covered.
Well, exactly. I mean, within a mechanical watch, you've got 3 different types of oil, and oil dries out the same as any oil would in a car, for instance. And 3 to 5 years servicing, if you were to equate that to kilometres in a car, it would be well over 1 million. So it is really worth servicing a watch and looking after it. Just peace of mind as well.
Perfect. So I can see you're naturally drawn to this wonderful Hoya. So, and these orange hands, they're just luminous and they stand out. So tell me a bit about this one.
So this is actually my favourite watch of the sale next week on Thursday. This is a vintage Hoya, again from the 70s. Early 70s. It was initially introduced in 1970. It's a Hoya Skipper, and it was designed for yacht racing. So you've got a sub-dial which counts down in 15 minutes in order to cross the line at the start line at the correct time. You time that. But the dial on this is blue with the blue original bezel. You've got date aperture at 6, and it's just a really handsome 70s watch. And I don't know if you can see that, but it just looks fantastic. The dial is like mint.
So it's very nicely on the wrist, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just. So this is a hand wound movement. This is either the first or just slightly into the second generation.
Most of those early Hoyas, they were all hand wound, weren't they?
Yes. So the one that came after this was automatic, but they had to fit it all in, and they moved all the pushes around. And I think it just threw off the aesthetics. So it's basically one of the most collectible Hoyas out there, and it's in for 1,000 to 1,500, which it's got me interested.
Come and get me. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
An original bracelet or a later bracelet?
I believe it's original. What do you think?
It's in very good condition.
It's in fantastic condition, so perhaps it's slightly later. I can't say with 100%.
Possibly a later service replacement, but it may well have been repolished.
I think so, but I can't say with certainty.
But certainly the right type of bracelet for the watch.
Yeah, so you see them a lot on leather straps, and of course, NATO straps look fantastic on them as well. Very versatile, but yeah, really, really, really handsome watch. That quite taken with it.
Lovely. Right. So what's next? So what about this lovely little lady's Patek? I mean, just a little work of art, isn't it?
It is, exactly.
Sort of half jewellery and half watch.
Yes, exactly. And yes, set with malachite, onyx, diamonds. I mean, you've got this twisted rope bezel, all in 18 karat gold. It's a hand wound movement, a really ultra thin movement from Patek. Just completely unique. I mean, I don't think I've seen another one like it.
I mean, I've seen lots of ladies' Patek dress watches over the years, but I've never seen one quite like that.
Nor have I. And researching the watch, we've found similar, but not exactly the same. So it must have been made in very small numbers. It is all correct. It's all direct from Patek, so it's not an aftermarket bracelet at all. It really is a masterpiece of jewellery and watch.
Yeah, and I know that this particular watch has come from an estate in London that we've recently cleared, and they've got quite a lot of jewellery in the same sale as well, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been a great find. This one. It's always nice when you find something completely unique and different. And of course, the name Patek Phillipe, they're the masters, yeah, beautiful. Now it's in at 2,000 to 3,000, which I think is really good for it. I have no idea what it will cost you, but beautiful, to say the least. Right, and we move on.
So moving on. So how about a Moonwatch?
We love a Moonwatch.
Next? We do love a Moonwatch.
We are.
So tell me about this one.
Blessed for having continual supply of Moonwatches. It's great.
Tuesday, so Speedy Tuesday.
Speedy Tuesdays, exactly. So let me remember exactly. It's 105012-66. That's 1966. It is the watch that ended up on the moon, effectively. Neil Armstrong had one. This has had some service history, so although the caseback's original, probably a new bezel insert. The bracelet is fairly in decent tact, actually. It's a lovely watch. So hand wound movement, caliber 321, and it's the Moonwatch, iconic.
Wonderful. And what's the estimate on this one?
6,000 to 8,000. It's only ever going to appreciate. We see them consistently going up over these last 10 years.
And you're buying a piece of history, aren't you?
Exactly.
They're instantly recognisable. They're on a par with the Submariner.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You've got the twisted lugs on this one, which indicates its year. Just a beautiful, one of the most beautiful movements I've seen. Once you open it up, you've got a magnetic cover and all sorts, and it's just a really, really pretty movement, beautifully made.
That was the first thing that piqued my interest in watches, actually.
Yeah.
As a small boy, was the complexity of movements. You open them up, they are little works of art inside, especially when you look at these lovely, the bronze-coloured movements of the Amigas. There's just nothing like them.
They are beautiful micromechanics. I mean, it's just incredible how much they fit into such a small
space. Exactly. And if you look at some of the modern techniques, see the ultra slim movements that we're seeing now.
Incredible.
They're a few millimetres.
1.2 I think the thinnest at the moment is, and it's a constant race to make them thinner.
It's getting a bit silly, right?
It is. Right, what's next? We've done that. I think we've got basically the standout lot left.
So saving the best till last.
Best till last, exactly. We're both extremely excited about this, to say the least.
So it's certainly my favourite watch in the sale. So this is a reference 1665 double red Sea Dweller Submariner, 1968.
Yes.
Now these watches I think were produced from 1967 to 1977, so they had a 10-year run, and it's the 60s watches that are the more sought after, and this is one of those early models dated 1968. just fantastic and really interesting provenance as well.
Yes.
So perhaps you want to show that to that
Yeah.
camera so we can get a good look at it.
Where are we? There we go. So effectively still a working prototype at that sort of age. It was, not until the 70s they really mastered it. But it was the first watch with the gas escapement valve ever. So it really was. But yes, the provenance from the vendor. What an incredible story.
Yeah, so I travelled to Wales to collect this watch, and it was originally owned by the sculptor Peter William Nicholas, who's quite a well-known sculptor. He worked with the likes of Barbara Hepworth and some other really famous names, and he bought this particular watch from new and owned it ever since. Passed away a few years ago, and his family have now decided to sell it. So a really wonderful story, and we've actually got some great photographs of his father wearing it whilst he's sculpting and he's hammering a chisel with stone, and he's wearing this wonderful Rolex. So very much living up to its name as a tool watch.
Yes, exactly. So the double red meaning Sea Dweller and Submariner writing. It's featuring a Mark II dial, if that's of interest to you, but possibly a change of hands, I think, at some point. It's got some service marks in the back of the case. It's Rolex patent case back. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And they're still making Sea Dwellers today, evolved into all sorts of, well, there's the James Cameron and then there's the regular. But the double red is hyper collectible. I mean, you couldn't get more collectible if you tried.
Really. And they're rare watches. They don't come up very often.
Yeah, exactly.
I think probably only a handful come onto the market every year.
Yes, really exciting. So what's that in for?
So estimate on this one is 20,000 to 30,000.
Which I think it will do.
Yeah,
it's just
it should hopefully sell well at that. It's a great watch, and it's a rare watch as well.
Yeah,
fine little piece of history and coupled with the provenance behind it too.
Yeah, brilliant story. I do like the stories that are attached with watches. They do.
Imagine if that could tell a story, all the adventures it's been on.
Well, exactly. The sculptor's got pieces in Cardiff on display in museums and things like that. So he's a well-known sculptor, and I've seen some of his pieces online. It's very cool. So yeah, the photos will be in the catalogue as well. Just great all-round watches. So thank you for joining. Oh, one last one. Sorry. An IWC Kanja dial. Now this is going to be really hard to show you. It's on 18 karat gold. Now this is featuring the Armani Kanja dagger in red at the bottom. Hyper collectible. Normally given as gifts by the Armani royal family to either people who served the country either from a military aspect or from a personal service, made directly by the manufacturer. This I don't know, it's very, very tricky to see, but it actually in changes colour in the lights from red to brown, but incredibly rare. Very few on the market, but that's in at 6,000 to 8,000 next Thursday on the 22nd of September. And with that, we'll say our goodbyes, I think. And thank you for joining us. Once again, the sale is next Thursday, the 22nd of September. We start from 9:30, and the watches tend to get auctioned from about 12:30 to 1 o'clock, but just keep an eye out the whole day. And of course, viewing. So it's worth discussing this actually, obviously, due to the latest news with the passing of Queen Elizabeth. We will be closed on the 19th as a mark of respect, of course, but we will be viewing the previous Friday, the Tuesday and the Wednesday. But of course, if you have any questions, do give us a call or email us at info@dawsonsauctions.co.uk and we will arrange everything for you. So yes, with that, we leave you, but we'll see you next Thursday on sale day or the preview. And yes, goodbye.